So what did I do? I just want to have this for the recording. So essentially all I did since we got back was we changed these subs.js. We threw this in here. And then we created a topics model. Where was that? Right here. Is that not popping up? Yeah, we created a topics model and then we migrated our database. And then in our seeds file, we're changing our seeds file right now. So yeah, I have this sub1, which is my first sub, and I can go in and I can explore the topics. So that has one topic. So this is my association. You know, create another topic for my sub1. It's bigger. So then I can do sub1.topics. That has two. I could also create like another sub. Let's create sub2 and have this be like equal to sub.last. And then I can do sub2.topics.create. So now these topics, they're going to be associated with a particular sub.
How did you look that up in the terminal?
I ran the Rails C command. So I
I'm getting a name error when I'm trying to do sub1. What would that be from?
Like, is it undefined local variable?
Yeah.
So you haven't, so I did sub1 equals sub capital S sub dot first. So I'm just assigning this sub1 to, like, I'm grabbing the first one and then assigning it to the variable sub1. So now that's defined.
I missed that part.
Yeah, and then the sub2, I wanted to assign that to sub.last. Just so I have two different subs.
Are we doing that part too in here?
Yeah, I'm just demoing. This is, remember, LC is like a sandbox. This is something I can go in and kind of experiment with my code, and I can actually interact with my database. I'm actually can change my database from here. So if I look at my sub2.topics, let's say size, this just has one topic because I've only created one topic for this given sub. And like if I do sub1.topics.size, that's 2. So if I do like topic.all.size, that's 3. But I'm just making like, the UX decision, UI decision that, hey, when I go to like the topics page, I only want to show the topics for a given sub. I don't want to show, like, I don't want to go to a page and see all 3 topics. I want to go to a page. I want to like, what I want to have happen is when I go to my website, this is how Reddit, subreddit kind of is. Turn on my server running. Sorry, I need to start my server. When I go to a sub, I want to like click on a sub and then I want to list that sub's topics. So my sub show page should almost show like the topics. So let's do that. And I just kind of wanted to demo this in our database, but now I can go ahead. I've changed my seeds file. So I'm going to go ahead and run my seeds file. Update. So, okay, foreign key. Oh, all right. This is so something I'm trying to do here. What's going on here is I'm doing the sub.destroy all call. But there's a problem here because I've created some subs and they have some topics associated with them. And what Rails is saying, why Rails is failing here, Rails is saying, hey, you're trying to delete a sub, but that sub has topics. So if I delete this sub, it's essentially going to make that topic, like that topic's going to be deleted. It's like, it's kind of by default saying you can't do that. Because
So
that's,
if we,
oh, sorry, go
top-
ahead.
I was just gonna ask if we moved it so that topics was above sub, would that fix it? Because it would be destroying topics first.
Yeah,
And
that,
there would be,
that would fix it in our seeds file, but then this isn't the way to fix it. This would work for our seeds file, but the problem with that is, well, what if, you know, through my UI, I want to delete a sub that has topics? Then I'm going to run into that same error. So, and this is where I need to ask myself as a developer, like, and for my app, it's like, if I delete a sub, do I want to delete all the topics? And in this case, I'd be like, yeah, I think that makes sense, right? I might not want that to happen, but I think in this case, I do. So what I can do is I go to my subs model, and I'm going to throw this in here, dependent : destroy. And what this says, hey, now I'm telling Rails, okay, if I delete a sub and it has topics associated with it, go ahead and delete those topics from the database. So that's like me giving permission to Rails. Let's leave a comment here. It's telling Rails it is okay to delete all topics, you know, associated. I don't know how to spell. Oh my God, associated. That's way wrong. With the sub. Associated. Is that right? Okay, anyway. So now let's try running this seeds file. Cool. So now it's able to delete them and recreate them. Okay, so now I want to make some paths for this. And the paths I'm going to make, I'm going to do my routes. And once again, I'm going to follow Rails convention here. I'm going to show you the shorthand to do this. So I want to my topics are going to be really defined by my subs because they belong to a sub. So I'm going to do a resources subs do end. And then inside of here, I'm going to do a topics. As the shorthand, and then maybe we'll write some of these out longhand, but let's just see what this does. I'll throw this out in Slack. Cool. So if I go to localhost 3000, whatever Rails info routes, where are they? Refresh, did I not save that? Save. I shouldn't have to stop my, oh, sorry, I forgot. Okay, don't copy what I pasted in there. I forgot the resources here. I'm going to fix that 1 second. Yeah, I was going to say, I shouldn't have to reset my server to see these new routes. Okay, and here they are. So now I have these paths. So I'm going to have different controllers now. So if I do a get, request and the path is subs and then some ID of a sub slash topics, that should take me to my topics index method. So notice all of these routes for my topics, I have to give it the sub ID. All of these are going to start with slash subs and then ID. And then the rest of the routes are just what you would expect if I had a topic model. It's just slash topics. That takes me to my index. Topics new, that takes me to my new method. So it matches the exact same. So the thing for these nested routes, just remember, we're going to start with slash the model name of the parent and then the ID. They all start with that. And then they follow your convention for the other ones. And they all hit the same methods. It's index, create, new, edit, show, update, destroy. So let's do like a, let's hook up like this get method. So slash subs sub ID. So what I'm going to do here, just to kind of demonstrate these two different routes that we could potentially have, is I'm going to go back to my subs.js. So this one is a show, but I'm just going to make a note in here. Like this one goes to my subs show method, right? Because I'm going to slash subs sub ID. Let's make another link here that goes to localhost subs sub ID and then slash topics. This is going to be the topics index. I think one of the like these two things these two routes, like the sub show and the topics index, could kind of almost be like the same thing. But let's just see it. But they're like, I mean, their functionality could kind of be the same. Like they're probably going to show the sub name and then all the topics. I think both of those methods could do something like that. But let's go get this one working. Okay. So localhost 3000. So yeah, let's go to this show goes to topic index. That's the one I want to go to. Cool. So now I'm going to subs. There's my URL, subs, and then the ID. This particular case, it's 41/topics. See how that's matching this route, subs, 41 topics. That goes to, and now I'm getting this error. I don't have a topics controller because I haven't created a topics controller. So let's go do that. Rails G controller topics. Spell controller, right? Cool. So there's that. So now if I were to refresh this, I'm going to get that I don't have the index method. So let's go to the topics controller and go ahead and define the index method. I'm just going to do this now just because when I'm looking at the routes, all of these routes have a sub ID. So I could use that before action to set the sub. Because I could potentially, maybe I want to do this on every single action because they're all going to have a sub associated with it. So I could say set sub and then at sub equals sub dot find. Now, part of the reason I spent so much time this morning, like going over that routes file and like this file, because this is where you kind of like, it's important to know these names. What's the name of the parameter going to be for my sub? It's going to be params.
ID, right?
It's actually going to be sub ID, sub underscore ID. See, that's defined. I don't know if you can like, it's kind of hard to read that colon. It's going to be param sub ID for my sub. And then anything in these routes that has an ID, that's going to be the ID of the topic. So say for instance, yeah, if I want to edit a topic, I'm going to need the ID of the sub and then the ID of the topic. So that way I can get back more than one kind of variable. So for this one, it's going to be params sub ID. And then I can do my before action. And I'll set sub. Now this one, I do actually want this to run on all of them. Let me see what I did. Okay, so let's go ahead and, like I said, I think we could keep the sub show the same, like this, because we kind of have these two paths, like I said, the sub show and the topics, very similar to what they're doing. So let's just, for demo's sake, let's create a topics.js file, like a React component. And then for this, let's just, let's go ahead and just kind of do this a little bit by bit. So let's do import React from React. And then const topics. Here's our JavaScript. I know I'm going to want props. Let's take our props. And then for now, we can return. Export default topics. Something I'm just going to do, I'll slack this out too. So I'm going to expect this to get some sub information. And for now, I'm just going to stringify, or call my JSON.stringify method. So I don't have to like loop over anything right now or make this look pretty. So I'm going to expect that from props, I'm kind of expecting that I get a sub prop. Like I'm getting passed down to this function, this sub. And then I'm also going to kind of expect to get this topics prop, which is going to be my list of topics. And then I'll slack this out. Alan, are you back? Power went out.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm using my phone's Wi-Fi hotspot, so I might not have a very good connection, but
Cool. Okay. So there's my React component in topics. Let's go to topics controller. So we have our index method. Now, here at sub is defined because we find it through our parameters. So what I really want to do here is I want to render that React component I just made, render component. I called it topics. And then through props. Now this one was expecting two props. It's expecting a prop called sub and topics. So sub, which is going to be equal to my instance variable at sub, and then topics, which is going to be my at sub dot topics. So let's see if that is working. So I'm going to subs 41 / topics. Let's refresh. There's my sub object. And there are the array of topics with that. And notice for all of these array of topics, they all have the sub ID of 41. That's this ID 41, and that is the number in our URL.
Will you go back to the topics controller for just a second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions on this? Is it like the nesting inception just kind of blowing up your mind?
Yeah, a little bit. I wasn't able to quite catch up, so I'm just following at this point.
Yeah, I would say like, hopefully I really think one of the biggest takeaways from this lecture is really, I mean, so we do this is why I kind of don't, I mean, this resources, subs, and topics is nice to do this. It's clean, it's gonna just give you the conventional way of doing stuff. I like typing it out because it's gonna help you kind of figure out what's actually going on here. Because the really important thing to really try to get in your head is how to read this. Like, if I want to, like, I want to get like the form for a new topic. Well, I kind of like maybe memorize or know that like the new method, like the topics new method, that should return the form. Or like, I know like if I do a get to subs and then pass it the sub ID topic / new, like if I do that request, that should take me to a new form for a topic.
Is there a reason I'm not able to open up that info / routes?
I mean, if you don't have your server running, you won't be able to.
Oh, yeah.
So you need your server running. And actually, like I said, you can just give it any bad URL. You'll get your 404, but then that will pop up to show you what routes you do have defined. So if you forget or you don't, like I have mine bookmarked, so I can just go there. So yeah, let's do this. Let's do this new one. Or actually, let's do the show. Let's show a topic. So let's do a get request subs ID topics ID. So if I want to show a topic, this is going to be my path. And I need to do a get request. So what I could do is I could go into my topics. And I'm just going to slack this little section out right here. Let me just actually slack out this whole piece of code. One second. This is missing one thing. So here's like our stubbed out React component for topics with like the links. Kind of want to, I'm going to delete this because I'm just going to type this one. This is the one I want to do. I'm actually going to delete these two because those won't be working. But I'm going to rewrite this A tag just for practice. So I want to do so I'm looping over my topics here. I'm doing my map function. Remember, that's going to go through all of my topics and it's going to return this JSX. So what I really just care about right here is getting the link correct for my show. So that's going to be to, and I got to interpolate this. So I want to go to subs. And I could almost just, if you're ever unsure, like I could just come in here, copy that, and paste it. That almost gets me there. But I can't just say sub ID. I actually have to give it a specific ID. Well, that is going to be from, I get my sub right here. So I get that from props. So I could say sub.id. And then this is going to be the ID of my topic. So for that, I could do, well, I'm going through each topic. So it's right there, topic.id. Go back, refresh, let's see if this looks a little better. Oh, I don't think I need to put some text in here, like show topic, so I can see that link. Refresh. Now I go to show topic. Boom, it blows up. The action show could not be found. But here, like while I'm here, like this is a tool right here. I can come in here and I can like expect my params. See how in my parameters, I have the sub ID 41. Boom, there it is, my URL 41. I have just the normal ID 4. There it is right there, 4. So yeah, I could even come in here. I could do like sub.find, params. This can be nice when you're just trying to figure out like if you're stuck. This is like you're kind of stuck in like a binding.py here. So this can be a useful tool. So I could do params sub ID. Boom. There's that. So I could set that equal to, set this equal to a variable. Then I could do sub.topics. So there's all of those topics. So then I could do like a s.topics.find, params or ID. Boom. Now there's that specific topic. I don't have to do it in here, but this is, when you're really stuck, this is a tool to kind of like help inspect your code of like, hey, what does my code look like at this moment in time when it crashed? That's generally a good time to like pause your code, is like when it's crashing. So this can be really useful to find bugs. I mean, I know what this bug is. It's because I don't have the show method defined. So that's definitely what I need to do. So let's go to my show method. Oh, sorry, I need to go to my topics controller. I need to define that show method. But I kind of figured out how to do that. I mean, I've already found my sub. I've already do that. So I could do, and like, look at here, I can actually type at sub. Wait, oh wait, that's not defined because I didn't have my show method defined. So that was never called. But this will be defined. And I can do at sub.topics.create. And then, oh, sorry, what am I doing? Topics.find params ID. Now remember like this, so that's how I can find my topic. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Anyway. I could also find my topic like this. Oh, sorry, at topic equals. I could use my topic model and just pass it the ID of the topic, and that would find it. That's fine. I think this way is a little more conventional and is a little, I would say like, it is a little better in the fact that I'm only going to search through my subs topic to find that ID. Where here I would search through all the topics.
So for that second line, it wouldn't need to be sub ID instead, or would it? For line 10, sorry.
Yeah, no, this is the ID here. This is, that is coming as the ID of the topic. The sub
Okay.
ID is the ID of the sub.
Okay.
And yeah, that's because when I look at my routes, when I do a GET request, I'm giving it both the sub ID and the ID. And that's what they're being called. So when I do a GET request, what I really need to do is I need to go to /subs, and then I need to give it an ID of an actual sub in my database.
Mhm.
And then topics, and then I need to give it an actual ID of a topic. I'm just calling this, or it's convention to call this, since we have two IDs now, it's just
Mhm.
convention to call this like the model name /ID,
Mhm.
that parent model, and then ID for the next one.
So we don't need to call that out also because we've already like set our sub in that before action.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So at sub is defined.
Okay.
And you know, we probably want to also do like a set.
Okay.
We could also do a set topic method. And set that equal to this. And then do a before action. Set topic. And for now, since we only have like the show method, I can do like only on show. And you know, I could do like a quick little test, like a render JSON at topic. So not even worry about rendering a component. Render JSON. So this isn't going to like do any stuff with the view. This is just going to return this hard-coded data. So if I go to localhost 3000, so there's sub 41 topics 4. That looks like, that actually looks like a topic. Oh wait, no, yeah, sorry. This is my topic. It's ID 40, it's ID 4, so there's my topic. I do 5, that's 5. If I do like 345, that's an error because I don't have that ID. So this is where you need to make sure somehow in your UI, you're creating, you're creating your links right, so you're not going to link someone to a bad, where it doesn't exist. What time is it? 51. I think that, like I said, you're going to have a couple days with this assignment, so this should hopefully at least get you your first little taste of the has many relationship. So yesterday we talked about the back end of it, and today we kind of started to throw in the routes. So we also talked more about controllers like before actions to clean up our code. So this is going to keep, this is what's called
What was the last thing you said?
the before actions. So what the before actions do is these allow us to keep are really going to keep our code cleaner, because now my show method, instead of looking like, this, I can get rid of these 2 lines, because technically every method inside of here would have like this at sub equals. And so I can throw that same action into a method. So I'm going to reuse this method, reuse that code, and I can clean it up.
So this is what you mean when you guys say keep it dry, right? Do not repeat yourself. So we just have the one thing defined instead of having it in every function
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
method.
yes,
Okay.
This is a great example of dry code. Other questions? I'm going to add this to GitHub right now. So this code will be up there.
I have a couple questions on like random stuff.
Go for it. I think like, let's do this. Let's say if anyone, you're done, you can hop off. Let's meet back at 2 at the TA channel. But I'll stick around for some questions.
So my first question is params in the topics controller. So would we do that basically the exact same as the subs, or what differences would we do? Do we need to do it for the topics controller at all if we were to define params in the private section?
Yes, I'm not sure what your question is.
So like in the subs controller at the bottom, we have we define sub params, and we do params.require sub permit. So I'm just wondering, like,
Oh yeah,
because
okay.
it's like,
Okay, yeah. So for our topics, so this is for like this is for creating and updating. So, and this is just kind of the generic thing we do. So like, I think of what's my model name, it's topic. So I'm just going to call this topic params.
okay.
And then params.require, well, I'm going to make sure that we get topic in here. And then I forget what attributes, like, so this is the name of my model. That's kind of what I'm expecting to get. So this is what I'm expecting to get from my form. And then inside of that form, I'm expecting to get a name field. I actually have to look at my schema because I forgot. If I look at my schema, I'm trying to just match, these things like a name and body.
Okay.
I don't need the sub ID
Okay.
because I have that. So I'm over here in my topics param ID name and body. And we'll go over this tomorrow. We'll do like create and update tomorrow.
Okay,
But that would be what that looks like.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have to like reference sub ID in it anywhere to like make it work.
Yeah. And I mean, just to like show you, yeah, it'd be like def create, we would be able to then do like our at sub dot topics dot create or dot new, and then pass it the topic params,
Okay,
something like that. And then that,
so we do need to specify like the difference between topic params and sub params, even though a lot of the time we're just calling params.
oh, so this topic params is different than that params.
Okay,
This topic params is a private function that I'm defining right here.
okay,
That is going to, it's called sanitizing. It's going to return, it's pretty much just going to return a hash with name and body.
okay.
If I get the right parameters, that's what it's going to do.
Whereas the params, like in the show function, that's like helping us navigate to a specific ID.
Yeah, this is something that Rails is keeping. This is like a Rails object, something that Rails is keeping track of.
Okay,
Like when we do like our URL, like like behind the scenes, Rails is going to add like any of these colon name things to params and give it the value.
okay,
And then it also sends along like what action was it, what control. So it just gives us some extra information when we fill out our form. Like params is going to have, like params is going to look like a hash. Like in this case, if it was topic, it'd like look like it'd have topic, and then that would be another hash inside of there, which would have like whatever the user filled out and body.
okay. Yeah, and I did just go back to the subs controller and I see that we did like specify a difference between sub params in our create versus just calling params in other functions. So that makes sense. It matches. So, and then I think my other question was, so at the end of a lot of our components, we have the export default, and then we just call the name of the JavaScript file. But then in a couple of them where you just slacked out the code that we didn't really go through, it has export default at the top. And I don't know if that's like too much to ask about right now, but I was curious about what the difference was there. Why the export default, like, and then the whole function is contained within that as opposed to just having it at the bottom.
Yeah, there's no real difference because these React components are just functions. So I can come in here and I can name a function. So I can do like constant, you know,
Oh,
has a name, and then set it equal to a function.
okay. So
Or-
it's at the
yeah.
very end, we're calling that function instead of like saying that we're exporting that whole function instead of like calling it separately. We're exporting it and then calling it all within itself.
Yeah, so I could say something like this, like I could define the function and then export that name function, or I could just say, hey, you know, I'm not going to give this a name and just export it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was confused about like the export default sub because it's like that's the name of the component as well as the name of the function. So I didn't understand that it was calling like the function as opposed to just like the file name, like when we render the component.
Yeah, and sorry, I probably should have not, like, that's my bad. I shouldn't be like, since we haven't really even talked about React or JavaScript that much, I shouldn't be throwing like little curveballs like that.
That's okay.
But
Figuring
yeah,
it.
as far as the React stuff is concerned, like the React stuff, I'm really fine if you like go in and you like copy and paste stuff, and then you have to kind of go in like, so if I had like this subs component, but maybe it was like instead of subs, you were doing like a like cars component.
Uh-huh.
I mean, really all you'd have to do is like come in here and replace sub with car, and probably it would work. If
Okay.
you're following convention type stuff.
Okay. Is there a how did you just do that replace thing? I know how to do like control F for find, but how did you do
Yeah,
replace?
that's command F. So I can come in here, sub, and then hit this down arrow,
Okay, cool.
And then, yeah, I could like replace all. So now they're
Okay.
all ours.
Which is like a little bit risky to do because we have so many things that are named like the same thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, very close to the same thing.
Yeah, well, there's also a nice little feature here. You can do the sub, like, whatever you want to change it to. And then you can go one by one. So, and then it's like highlighting.
Okay.
So then you can be like, oh, no, I want to skip that one.
Okay.
So,
And then I had one more question that was actually about the homework last night where I had been trying to get like links for like the edit and delete and stuff when you actually go into show as opposed to only in the index. But I think, I mean, just looking at this page that you could just call out the specific URL instead of like referencing like the way we were doing it last night. I couldn't get it to work on my homework and it was pissing me off. So I was going to ask about it this morning and then I couldn't remember what it was that I wanted to ask. I remembered in the middle of the lesson, but I think I at least know a way to do it now, looking at this page. So
yeah, I really see, once again, I don't even need this HTTP localhost thing. This is kind of redundant.
okay.
But does this kind of help explain does that answer your question just looking at this? While we're here, I can answer any specific questions you have on the links.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, I don't know, I guess I wasn't understanding like if I'm already in like a new user page or whatever, if I would have to like sort of tell it to go back the same way as if I was like in like doing a change directory or whatever, and I needed to go back a directory and then go into it in the terminal. I was thinking of it in the same way, but I don't know. I just could not make it work this morning and I would have to like pull it up and share my screen probably to show it. And
so that's like the terminal would, like, that would not be a good analogy. It really is like, you just have to ask yourself, where do you want to go? So like maybe I want a link to add a sub.
Mhm,
Maybe I can't remember the path. Like,
mhm.
I don't know if I'd really expect you to remember this by now, but what I could do is I come here and I go like, oh yeah, I want a new sub. So like, you might have to go back and like, what method returns a form? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the subs new. I should go to like my subs controller to my new, and then that's going to be a get request to /sub/new.
Okay, so it is kind of a hard path rather than a relative one, because like originally I know that I just tried to like copy and paste the links that I had on my index page and they wouldn't work on like an edit page or whatever. But if it's a hard path, it should work regardless of
Might
where
be
you put it,
forgetting
right?
if you forget a back, like there is some weird stuff with the routes. You do need,
Backticks
no, you need
or
the backslash before you start. You might have
okay.
like right here, like maybe you forget to do that. That can sometimes cause issues. It doesn't all the time, but like
Okay.
definitely start that
So
off.
like some of here, like you've got href and then it is like in quotes, but then down here you have it in curly brackets with a backtick.
Yeah, and this is a job, like a React thing. So
Okay.
if it's, I mean, I could really do this in. So first of all, if I want to use backticks is like a JavaScript thing.
Okay.
If I want to use JavaScript in this, which is called JSX, I have to use square brackets. Like by what I mean, if I want to do JavaScript, like say like I want to do 1+1. Now, if I run this, let's just do this here. If I go to this page, what page is this? That's my subs. So if I go to localhost 3000,
James,
yeah,
could you send the subs.js component to Slack and the sub controller?
yeah, those are up on GitHub.
Okay.
But which ones did you want?
The component, subs component, and the sub controller RB.
This one, subs component.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the controller.
Oh, the controller. Oh, you want the
The
component and
controller and the component, subs.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
subs controller. Let me get this, and then I'll get back to you 1 second.
Okay.
All right. So going back to this, so I have 1 + 1 here.
Okay.
So this is being just like, it's not being evaluated as JavaScript.
Okay.
It's just saying, oh, this is like text. But if I do this in the curly brackets, because I'm in what's called JSX right here,
Mhm.
now it's going to be like, oh, evaluate this like it's JavaScript. So then JavaScript's actually going to go like and do the math and evaluate that. So if I
So
say-
with the 1 + 1 showing up, why don't we have to put that in like a paragraph? I can't even remember, but the little things, the P and then the NP. I can't remember what anything is called all of a sudden.
That's just HTML. HTML
Yeah.
allows you, like you can, in HTML, you can just write that. You don't have to nest it in something.
Okay.
I mean,
That'll
like,
just give it more data about what you are writing and that will help things like Google searches and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it just creates meaning around the information, I guess, right?
I mean,
Okay.
you really shouldn't have like text outside of an element.
But you can. You shouldn't, but you can.
Yeah, it works.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what the curly brackets means. Hey, evaluate this as JavaScript. So
Okay.
here I could wrap that in brackets. That would evaluate this. So that would just be a string. So I don't need that here because it's just a string. So I could do double quotes. And now that's just HTML. But here I actually need to grab the ID of the sub. So I do, like, you know how we do interpolation with Ruby?
Yeah.
This is how I do interpolation with JavaScript.
Yeah.
So I have to say the brackets, like, hey, this is like evaluate this as JavaScript, and then do the backticks because I want to do interpolation.
Okay.
So that's what's going on there.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I think that helps. And all of this like JSX stuff is only like functioning the way it is because we have like React being called out, right? That we're using React.
Yeah, this is definitely like this right here. This is JSX, which is part of like React.
Okay. And we're gonna learn more about React in like the coming weeks. So don't worry about that too much right now.
Yeah, next week we're gonna do a deeper dive. So this is hopefully like I just do this it's really so we don't have to learn ERB and we can spend more time with React.
Okay, cool. Oh, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm gonna go to lunch now.
Enjoy. Oh, it's
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sweet. If that's it, enjoy your lunch. Michael, I see you're here. Do you have any specific questions for me? I see you're just sitting in. You're on mute if you're trying to talk. You're good? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to close this room. Everyone have a good lunch. We will, or Michael, do you have any questions? You are, okay, cool. I can't hear you, you're on mute. Sweet. All right, well, I'm going to close the room. Meet back at 2 at the TA channel and have a good lunch. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, now can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I was trying to get the thing to respond to me touching the screen and, so it'd work. But the question at the point is the laptop that I sent in a second one. I was looking at to see if you could evaluate
Oh,
it.
did you get
Worthwhile.
you threw in another laptop? Let me
Yeah, the
see.
first one we were looking at was kind of the cheapo one that happened to be on Amazon. It was some rebuilt one, but he was worried that wasn't going to be worth it.